If there was ever an anonymous survey going around asking how many people thought about returning their puppy at some point, I'm pretty sure it would be high. Most of us have had that fleeting thought, or more than a fleeting thought, at some point during the what the was I thinking phase. Hi, I'm Megan, I'm a dog trainer, and I have a massive passion for helping the human side of the dog training as well as the dog side, because after all, we are half of the team. I'm going to talk today about the puppy blues. If you've never heard of that, don't know what that is, but maybe might be experiencing it, stick around. I'll talk about 5 reasons why you might be experiencing it and 5 things that can help you through it. The last one is actually a little bit controversial, so stick around while I chat about that. So, the puppy blues essentially is a concept to describe the negative feelings and emotions that we go through after we get through that initial excitement of having our puppy. So, this can unfortunately make it pretty difficult to bond with your puppy, especially since you're focusing on all of the negative things, the worry, the stress, the anxiety, which makes it very difficult to see all the good things that puppies can bring us, and it makes it very difficult to see the long road ahead and what our future looks like with our older dog. It is pretty common to cycle through phases of WTF and, oh my god, this is the best decision I ever made in my life, and that thought usually happens when your puppy is sleeping and they look so bloody adorable. Okay, so here are 5 reasons that you might be struggling with the puppy blues. Number 1, and I'm going to lump these all together, is essentially the common puppy struggles that we have. So you've got the nipping slash mouthing slash biting, which can be very intense specifically for certain breeds or just certain individuals, especially through the teething phase. It's bloody sore. Their needle teeth are very sharp, and if you don't have any other animals in the home, especially any other dogs, older dogs that can help them through that, if they're a single dog with you, you pretty much get all of that. Other common problems such as toilet training, which can be completely easy and fine for some and be very difficult for others. Barking, pulling on the lead, jumping up, not interested in their own things and more interested in your dressing gown and slippers and furniture. And not settling, so not sleeping well in the crate, out of the crate if you're using a crate, finding it very difficult to rest, overstimulated by the environment. These can all lead to overtiredness with puppies, and we all know an overtired puppy is a difficult puppy to live with. Okay, reason number 2 is feeling trapped, okay? So when you get a puppy, you are pretty much bound to that puppy, especially for the first however many months. A pretty vulnerable creature. You can't just leave them for hours on end to go and do what you want. You have to constantly keep an eye on them when they are out and about and awake, because they're going to get up to mischief if you don't, because they're just a very young animal that doesn't know any difference. So feeling trapped and feeling constantly like you're on edge all the time. Combined with that is number 3, the lack of sleep. Okay, so that hyper focus on your puppy, especially if you've got a puppy that is not sleeping well at night, can be really, really difficult, because then your sleep is disturbed. And there are studies to show us that disturbed sleep can even be worse than lack of sleep. That constant getting up, getting to sleep, finally getting into that sleep and then waking up again, very difficult and very harmful in the long run for people and for dogs. And even if you are awake and then you want just some downtime, you're used to, doing a little bit of work and then sitting down and having a cup of tea, and all of a sudden you can't sit down and have that cup of tea because you need to keep an eye on your puppy and entertain them and occupy them with different things. Overall, you're just exhausted. Number 4 is comparison. So comparison can be either comparing your new puppy with your previous dog. That can be really detrimental, but even if they're the same breed, they're going to be different dogs. Also, it's likely you had an older dog and now you've got a puppy again, different developmental stages. So comparing what your dog is right now to what your older dog was, or even as your older dog was as a puppy, can be really difficult because they're just 2 completely different dogs. Also comparing your puppy to other people's puppies. Again, they're all gonna do different things. They all have a completely different home environment, history and background of like what the puppy's parents were like, what their siblings were like, what that home environment was like, and the breeders, like their learning history is all going to be totally different. So they are going to be totally different. Just because your puppy is a little bit slower to be settled at night or toilet training doesn't mean they won't eventually get there, and doesn't mean that comparing that is going to be helpful for you. The last bit of comparison is comparing it to the vision that you thought was going to be there. So we all have a vision in our head when we do anything in life, okay? We think about it before it happens, that is natural. But if you've had this specific thought about exactly what your life is going to be like with your puppy, how they're going to be, like, you then get a little bit disappointed. Try not to compare what your puppy is now to what you thought was going to happen. Just look in the present, in the moment, and realize what a fantastic puppy you have, also what a little shit of a puppy you have, but that things will eventually get better. Number 5 is the fear of getting it all wrong. Especially if you don't have experience with dogs, or even if you do have experience with dogs, even people that have lived with dogs their whole life might have only ever had experience with 5 family dogs. 5 dogs out of the millions out there is not a big amount. But looking specifically at those that have never had experience with a dog, you can do as much research, as much reading, watching videos, as much of it as you like. It is totally different when you have your own puppy. But the fear of things going wrong can, 1, hold you back from doing things, and 2, cause this constant state of anxiety that whatever you're doing is not the right thing. All of those things combined that I've just mentioned can essentially put you into a really stressed, anxious state, with the lack of sleep and the hypervigilance, causing you to just really struggle to bond and really struggle to be able to consciously be happy with your puppy. So if any of those resonated with you, here are my 5 tips to help through the puppy blues. Number 1 is gather your community. Whether or not you live alone with your puppy, that's even harder, or you live with a family, you need a community and a hub that is going to help you with the responsibilities of your puppy, or even just giving you a break here and there. If you can have everyone in the family taking responsibility for different parts, or even just being able to give you a break when you're really struggling, that's going to help a lot. If you have friends that can come in and sit with the puppy for a few hours while you go and do your own thing, that's going to help a lot. Social media has its pros and its cons, but use social media as a sort of way that you can realize you're not alone. The majority of people are going through these same struggles. So if you can find that sort of community online, chatting to other people that are going through the same thing, those can be really good online community groups. Other parts of community can be dog walkers and dog sitters. They can be really helpful to give you a break again, also to kind of like come and sit with your puppy, give you a break if you don't have family or friends close enough. And lastly would be local training groups. So again, if you're going into a place where everyone is going through the same struggles, it can help you feel less alone. Number 2 is make sure that you're putting your own safety mask on first, okay? So make sure that you do stuff for yourself every single day that has nothing to do with your puppy. Looking back at the community part, if you have people to help you like family and friends, that can be a lot easier to give you a break and do something that's not puppy related. Don't go shopping for your puppy. Don't go and do some research about this and that about your puppy. Do something that has nothing to do with your puppy. Number 3 is understanding that comparison, while it is normal and it will happen, it is the thief of joy. I have a whole video on comparison if you want to check that out, but essentially you need to be mindful of when you're starting to compare your puppy to other puppies or your old dog or what your vision was like, and start to focus on what's happening in the moment with your puppy. Think about the things that your puppy is doing well about. Even write a little list, that can be quite helpful, and enjoy the tiny, tiny little positive moments that you have throughout the day. Like really hold on to those so that you can build those up and help, hopefully, outweigh the stuff that's not going so well. Number 4 is the training side of it. Dogs can learn the fancy, really good stuff at any age. You might see videos of puppies doing really, really like excellent stuff within 30 seconds. Guaranteed the rest of the day, they're probably just being like every other puppy. Now, if you don't have a lot of experience, okay, you can obviously hire a trainer just to understand what you need to kind of focus on, but don't overly stress about any sort of like fancy training. For me, it's more important if you're going through the puppy blues that actually the basics and the foundations of the puppy's needs are being met, so that you can start to feel better. So these are making sure you have a really good routine. Routines help a lot, especially a sleep routine. And that brings me to the next point is sleep. Making sure your puppy's getting enough sleep, roughly around about 18 hours of sleep a day. Management is also a big part of this. Make sure that you have places that the puppy can be safely without your supervision, that they can do whatever they want there and it's all safe and secure. And then when you are supervising them out in bigger areas, you're interacting with them or giving them positive outlets to focus on so that they don't get up to mischief. Because puppies have no idea where they are and aren't allowed to go, what they are and aren't allowed to do. It is our job to help them. Look at your specific breed for what outlets might be most positive for them. I mean, all puppies love ripping and shredding and chewing and scratching and digging and all that kind of stuff. So you want to be able to provide all those sort of outlets regardless of what individual and breed that you have. Positive outlets for those. It doesn't have to be dog things that you buy in the shop. It can be stuff you find around the house that is obviously very safe for the puppy to interact and have some fun with. Okay, number 5 is the controversial one that I was talking about. Now, there are some times where actually the puppy that you do have may just not be right for you at this time. So on the one hand, while it is very normal to go through the phase of the puppy blues and have those thoughts of what have I done, and this isn't working, and I want to give this puppy away, those are all normal fleeting thoughts that happen. But there are also some times where genuinely it might be the best decision to either put your puppy back to the breeder or find a really suitable home for them. So for example, if you have always had that breed or you've always had dogs, but actually you're now in a completely different phase of life yourself, and having a puppy in the house is maybe not the best thing for you. If you have bought a specific breed because you've seen them in a movie, or because they won Crufts, or because you've seen some videos on YouTube or Instagram or Facebook and you were like, wow, I really want a dog that can do that too, it might be that you have bitten off a little bit more than you can chew. From my experience personally, the biggest mismatch that I see, or the biggest sort of struggles that happen within relationships with people and their puppies or dogs, is the working dog. So the dogs that genetically are actually built for a working role, whatever breed they might be, but if they were actually from a working home or working parents, and they've got a long line of working dogs, bringing that into a pet home can be extremely challenging if you are not prepared for that. Working dogs, working puppies tend to need more stimulation mentally, not just physically, need a lot more effort put into them, have a lot higher energy, a lot higher drive, because that is natural and that is the way they have been bred. What happens when the dog or puppy is not getting their needs met is that over time this can build up a lot of stress and frustration, which are very negative, and then eventually we see behaviour problems starting to arise. You sometimes got to give yourself a little bit of a talking to and understanding, am I going through these thoughts and these emotions and struggles just because that's all very normal and I will get through this, I'm seeing progress every day, I'm finding joy in things every day? Or are you thinking all these things and actually maybe realising that this isn't the correct puppy for me in this moment in my life? Like I said, it's a very controversial thing to bring up. So after that downer, hopefully the video has given you a little bit of help of understanding what puppy blues are, that's why you might be experiencing these things, and giving you some tips of how to help you through the puppy blues. My last little bit of advice is give it some time. If you can be patient, most of the time these things start to just fizzle away by themselves and you start to develop a really good relationship, routine, and some training skills with your dog. Have a good one. I'll see you next time.